Well, once again, hello, everybody. This is Russell Tomlinson, along with my lovely daughter, Stephanie Tomlinson, my co-host, and we are here for another series of Relationship Revolution Television. And man, do we have something that will apply to any and everybody that's in a relationship. Because, Stephanie, tonight we're talking about Let's Fight Fair.
Yeah, I love this topic. One of my faves.
Yeah, because everybody, I don't care what you call it, an argument, a disagreement, a robust rebuttal, intense dialogue. There are all kinds of names that people give it. But the fact is, when it comes to relationships, there are conflicts, and we got to know how to deal with those. So just before we get into that, we want you guys that's listening, that's watching, we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to follow or subscribe at Russell Tomlinson. And you see it all right there. So please, it helps us to get the information out, to get the content out. It helps us to reach a whole lot more people when you like, share, or follow or subscribe. It is a tremendous benefit to us. So please, we encourage you to do so. Stephanie, I want to get into this because
Yes.
anybody can identify with the disagreement. Anybody can identify with conflict.
Yep.
Because we are human,
hmm
and the issue of relationships on this level is a human relationship. We're going to have conflicts.
Yep.
So here's what I want us to do. I want us to, first of all, let's define this idea
Mhm.
of what it means to fight fair. What do you think about it?
Well, I would say, not hitting below the belt. So, rules of engagement. How do we engage in arguments, in conflict, in disagreement, and however, whatever name you want to call it, fighting. But how to do it fairly, where it's just and it's not. You're not hitting below the belt.
Yeah, hitting below the belt is like calling names, blaming, shaming. Those are the kinds of things that happen. So,
hmm
and the other thing is this: we want to make sure that in relationship conflicts, one of the things that helps to quickly resolve these issues
hmm
is that we don't cause things to escalate when it
Yes.
comes to conflict and an argument or a disagreement,
Yeah.
because we got all of our emotions invested into these things. And it's very, very easy to step into a place where if you don't have the right tone and tenor, things could escalate rather quickly. All because we don't understand that we're going to have conflict. There are
hmm
going to be disagreements. There are going to be fights, but there's a way to do it that we can benefit from it rather than people being divided because of it. So
Yeah.
let's get into this, because you have some things that I believe
hmm
uh, that can speak to this very issue. You've got some things that you have already looked at, you've considered. I want you
Mhm.
to share the first one of your
Let me
first
start.
points. Yeah.
Okay, so before beginning anything, you want to have an understanding of two things. The first thing, what is your goal? And the second thing, why am I upset? Oh, I should kind of flip that around. So the first thing, why am I upset? What is wrong? What is my problem? And then the second thing is, what is my goal in this? So what do I want to achieve? So I realize that a lot of times we get triggered, we feel all of these strong emotions, and a lot of times we just respond just based off of what we feel automatically. But instead of responding, we have to learn how to think. We have to learn how to stop ourselves and say, okay, wait, before I say anything, before I do anything, what am I really upset about? And so one thing I said last week is, a lot of times we'll realize that the thing that we're upset about
Hmm.
sometimes has nothing to do with the person. So sometimes it may have something to do with us. It may have something to do with just having a rough day. It may have something to do with just built up emotion that was never addressed in the past. So we have to learn how to stop and think and ask ourselves, okay, what is it that is making me upset? And then once you kind of find out what's making me upset, then the second question is, what is my goal? What am I trying to achieve here? Am I trying to just vent? Am I trying to get some type of resolve? Am I trying to, just feel understood? Because whatever that thing is also depends on how you're going to address it. So if you're trying to just vent, maybe you don't need to do that with your significant other. Maybe you can just call a friend, or if you're trying to be understood, or if you're trying to resolve something, then hitting below the belt is going to be counterproductive to your argument. So you want to make sure that, number one, why am I upset? Number two, what is my goal in dealing with it? Once you learn your goal, you know how to address it. So what do I say? When do I say it? What tone do I say it in? So you get an opportunity to plan exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and we can use this term. Emotional intelligence is
Yeah.
very necessary when it
Hmm.
comes to resolving conflicts or dealing with issues that may be emotional things that are bothering us, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence is of the utmost importance. Uh, how would you describe emotional intelligence?
It's learning how to, number one, become aware of yourself. When you're aware of your own self, what do you call it? Self-awareness,
Yeah,
self-regulation, and
yeah,
self-management.
yeah.
Those are the three things that comes with emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, you have to be aware of yourself. Then you have to learn how to regulate yourself. That's self-regulation. And then self-management is managing, I'm sorry, those emotions that you're experiencing.
Hmm. Yeah. And the other
Mhm,
thing is this: when it comes to what we call this emotional intelligence,
mhm.
here's what I'm finding. Primarily, it's about me controlling me.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we get pulled into another person's emotional upheaval.
Mhm,
But if I am emotionally intelligent, then what I am capable of doing is controlling my emotions.
mhm.
And that brings about a situation where you can use now even
Mm,
a conflict to
yeah.
bring about a resolution.
Mhm,
Most people get divided, most people stop speaking. And anytime you see something bringing about a division in a relationship,
mhm.
it's only because there's somebody that's not understanding the power of emotional intelligence. Now,
Yeah.
there's also what is called emotional ignorance. So,
Mhm,
any relationship that is always at a time of conflict,
mhm.
always at a time of emotional outrage, any relationship like that is most likely there's an issue there of not understanding what it means or how to go about controlling their own emotions.
Yeah.
And emotions are some very challenging things to deal with
Yeah.
because feelings can be very, very strong.
Mhm. Yeah. And typically, when our feelings are so strong, our next urge is to react or to respond.
Yeah,
So that's where emotional intelligence comes in, where we have to learn how to think before
yeah,
we respond.
yeah. We learn how to think through emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
But I like the word that you just used. It's more of a response when you have emotional intelligence
Hmm.
rather than a reaction when you're ignorant of emotional intelligence. We've got to understand that every response comes from a place where we know how to or should know how to control ourselves
Yeah.
because heated arguments can turn into something that can devastate people's relationships on a long term basis. And so every relationship failure, every time somebody fails in a relationship, most likely it's caused by out of control emotions.
Hmm.
Relationship breakups, it's caused by out of control emotions. And, to be honest, I think it's important that we understand that this is where, if you are a believer,
Yeah.
you need grace to deal with those things that are sometimes just above and beyond us. It
Hmm.
takes time for people to actually learn how to control their emotions, especially those that have been out of emotional control for a long time. Those
Yes.
people, those people that have been controlled by their emotions, they have not learned how to harness their emotions. And those are the ones
Hmm.
that's probably going to have a greater challenge in harnessing those emotions. But the good news is
Hmm.
it is possible to train yourself and cause your emotions to be submitted to you instead of you submitting to your emotions,
Yeah.
those negative emotions.
And you have to be aware of them at first. You can't change anything that you're not aware of. So the awareness portion is so key, because you have to be aware of, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing that's causing conflict in me, that could be causing conflict in others as well?
Yeah. Well, the thing that we don't like to do, we don't like to talk about, us. Uh, we don't see ourselves as the problem, but there are some solutions that I think that's going to be important for us in understanding
Hmm.
how do we go about uh, operating, exercising emotional intelligence. One of the first things that I tell people is this: turn the conversation away from me into
Hmm.
we.
I like that.
That's important.
Hmm.
Because if it's just about me, then that's a one sided situation.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be only concerned about my feelings and my emotions and trying to express my side. So if I'm married, especially, I want to be able to be conscious of the fact that it's about we and not me. If I am conscious of the fact that this is something that concerns both parties, then I have a better way of handling the conflict and dealing with it. But if it's all just about me, then now I'm in a place where uh, I'm possibly allowing the relationship to
Mhm.
be endangered by my own selfish view of
Yeah.
what this is really all about. And so I want to make sure that I don't do any uh, self inflicted harm,
Mm.
something that could be helpful, something that can be fruitful, something that can be positive, which means then I've got to always keep in mind that when there's a conflict, I've got to look beyond me and turn it into we.
Yeah. So how would you kind of word that in a rule to make sure that people look toward we and not
Well,
me.
let's do it like this.
Uh-huh.
Let's do it like this. If you want to be in a relationship, then it has to be a we situation anyway, if the relationship is going to be uh, held together. There has to be us, there has to be we. It's a situation where we are in this together. It's a
Mhm.
situation where both of us can benefit out of this. So the thing that I also would advise people to do is this: make sure that in a conflict, you are not trying to solve what we perceive to be the problem.
Okay.
That's not the best approach.
Mhm.
When it comes to a conflict between couples,
Mhm.
what we tend to do, what we have this propensity of doing is, oh, there's the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Mhm.
It's apparent that there is a problem. We see what the problem is.
Mhm.
The mistake that people make is they go to solve the problem of the 800-pound gorilla.
Mhm.
They don't understand that the most important thing initially is to deal with the 8 ounces of emotional damage that some
Yeah.
folks.
That 8 ounces can turn into 800 pounds real quick.
Yeah, it turns into a problem because what it's doing, what feelings and emotions do if we don't address the person's feelings, if we
Mhm.
don't address their emotions, what
Mhm.
we do is we don't actually help them to contribute to some type of solution because they're still dealing with maybe an offense,
Mhm.
maybe a hurt of some
Mhm.
type, some
Yeah.
type of emotional issue that they're having to deal with. So if I am in a conflict with my spouse, I don't go to solve the problem first. What I do, I go to deal with her feelings.
Mhm.
How does this, how does this make you feel? If
Mhm.
if the issue is I feel like, you don't care for me, well then we're back to last week. I need to have a active listening ear
Mhm.
so that I make her I bring her in as
Yeah.
a part of the solution by giving attention and addressing her emotions first. If
Okay.
you can lower the emotions,
Mhm.
then you're already on your way to a solution.
So you're seeking clarity. You're seeking clarity first of what the emotion is to de-escalate that emotion.
Exactly. You're bringing the emotional part under control
Mhm.
because it's very difficult to deal with the 800-pound gorilla
Mhm.
if emotions are still raw, if people are still emotionally disturbed, if they have hurt feelings, if they are offended. Now, if I deal with that, I'm dealing with the person first
Mhm.
rather than the problem.
Got it.
That's a better way to put it. I'm
Yeah.
going to deal with the person first. And our thing is, what we want to do is jump right on the problem.
Mm.
But without that person being able to contribute to solving the problem because of their damaged emotions, they're upset about something, I could never, ever truly get a solution
Mhm.
to the obvious problem because the roadblock, the impasse, the hindrance is the fact that I make the problem more important than the person.
Mm.
And when the problem becomes more important than the person,
Mm.
now you got a 1,600-pound gorilla in the room.
But it seems like before you can even put the focus on the person, you have to be in a mature place as well, because most of the time when someone presents to them, oh, I have a problem, that person gets defensive, like, excuse me, like, you have a problem with me, and they start getting defensive opposed to addressing the person or the problem.
Yeah.
They start to defend themselves. So how to avoid that, person getting defensive to the point where they can come to you and say, okay, what is the emotion that you're experiencing?
Well, here's the issue. Uh, when I address the person
Hmm.
with a listening, an active listening ear, and the person understands that my approach is caring for you first,
Hmm.
then there's very little room
Yeah.
to become defensive. So my approach now is, all right, uh, what is it that I did that made you uh, feel like I wronged you? Once they tell me what it is, I do not get defensive or try to justify myself. I stay in the area of trying to find out
Hmm.
what is it that I did now?
Hmm.
What do I need to do in order to bring about emotional peace, emotional healing? How do I go about helping you to get over the feelings? When I
Hmm.
put all of my time and energy into that, then by the time we get to the obvious problem, I have help now to solve it. It's not something I've got to do on my own
Hmm.
because I have bought in a partner to assist me in, okay, now we have this problem. But before I can deal with the problem that we have, I've got to deal with the issue of the offense
Hmm.
that your emotions is demonstrating.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now, my time is let's deal with the person first. Deal with their hurt. Deal with their disappointment. Deal with their pain. Deal with their emotional issue.
Hmm.
Ask questions. And when they tell you what they perceive that you did, don't defend yourself.
Hmm.
Because once you understand what it means to care for the person,
Hmm.
the next thing is that you've also now got to let the person know that your interest is more about them than the problem that is before us.
Right. That takes a lot of maturity.
It's training, yeah,
Yeah.
it's training. It takes maturity, but here's the thing.
Hmm.
Uh, I think wisdom is actually what it takes.
Yeah.
Maturity is a part of it, but a wise person knows how to diffuse a
Hmm.
situation.
Totally.
And so a wise person would apply wisdom
Hmm.
over their feelings
Yeah.
because it saves everybody.
There's actually another rule that reminds me of everything what you just said, but it's called an I statement. So a lot of times, in order to avoid someone getting very defensive,
Right.
you can use an I statement. So typically, using the words "you are," lazy, you are inconsiderate, you are, that typically gets the person on the defense. So using an I statement, I feel, and you insert that emotion word. I feel disrespected, when you don't answer my phone calls. I
Uh-huh. Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
what is that? That beeping sound.
Yeah. That no, that's somebody that's I don't know, they're texting or whatever the case may be. But
Okay.
to your
Hmm.
point, once again, now you're talking about tenor, the way that is approached, the
Yeah.
wording that you use
Hmm.
is really what will determine the person's response. If I approach it the wrong way and I'm
Yeah.
using the wrong words,
Exactly.
then the thing is that I am hindering my ability
Hmm.
to actually get to the problem. That's why I want to make sure that I deal with the person's feelings and
Yeah.
their emotions first. See, emotional intelligence is not just me being intelligent about how I approach something by way of my own emotions,
Hmm.
but it's also the ability to help others to properly manage their emotions, to bring the temperature down rather than rather than me living in my feelings. Because
Hmm.
feelings, let's be clear about this. Feelings are not trustworthy.
Hmm.
When you get into your feelings, feelings can lie to you.
Yeah.
And so we all have our own emotional reality. And once again, emotional reality does not come from truth.
Yeah.
Emotional reality comes from what we give meaning to. So
Yes.
I can give meaning to something that's personally just me
Hmm.
and not have all of the facts about what the other person actually thought or what they meant. So if I have a thought or I have an experience in my life and somebody calls me a name,
Hmm.
and maybe that name triggers something, and I
Hmm.
give meaning to what happened in the past, and then I start to deal with the person based on my own
Past experiences
past
and
experience,
triggers.
my own reality. And
Hmm.
that's why emotional intelligence is going to be is going to be important, because I need to be able to deal with facts when it comes to bringing about a resolution.
Yeah.
But the facts can't be dealt with until we first get the feelings
Yeah.
uh, dealt with in such a way that we move on beyond those. And the way that happens is, I personally, if I'm in that kind of conflict, I want to hear what's the person feeling, what's their emotional state, help
Hmm.
them to understand how to go about uh, lowering their emotions, bringing their own emotions into subjection,
Hmm.
cooling down the temperature. And
Hmm.
then what happens is, now together we can solve the 800 pound problem or the 1600 pound
Yeah.
problem.
And someone said that 16-pound gorilla needs Weight Watchers.
Yeah, I think that's Levi.
But this brings me to the point, because I know awareness is so key, but it brings me to the point that you have to really be aware of your belief system, because you said something that's so important, like your belief system, your own, based off of your past experiences, based off of, your triggers. Your belief system is basically a lens of how you deal with all of your problems. So becoming aware of what that belief system is, it's so key, because if you're not, if belief systems go into our subconscious, and our subconscious become autopilot. So if you're not really careful about what your belief system is, you could be literally have on a lens that is so incorrect, that is so not on point, and you could be getting offended at all of the wrong things that's not actually happening, just based off of your trauma, your experiences, your triggers, and your poor belief systems.
Well, let me tell you why that is such a great point that you just made. Number one, the idea of belief and values is something that comes from the conscience.
Mm,
So, we're dealing with the complex mind when it comes to people. The
yeah.
complex mind is like this. The complex mind is your conscious mind.
Hmm.
Then there's your subconscious, where we have a lot of thoughts that we are unconscious of. And then you have a conscience,
Hmm.
which houses your values and your
Yeah.
beliefs. Now, most people don't take enough time to work on themselves,
Yeah.
and which brings about a lot of offense with anybody they're in a relationship with.
Hmm.
So when I pay attention specifically to me, I've got to work on number one, what do I believe about me?
Yeah.
That's that, if I believe the worst of me, there is no way possible that I'm going to be able to believe the best about anybody else.
Yeah. And you're going to project your beliefs about you onto everyone else.
Yeah, and that is not a fair fight,
Hmm.
and because it only makes the fight, it heightens the negative emotions. It only brings about a more intense kind of atmosphere and relationship. And here's why: because I'm fighting from a position of
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
I'm so caught up into my hurt, my feelings, and I am not either wise enough or mature enough to be caring for the person more than trying to solve the problem. The
Yeah.
problem is going to be there. But
Hmm.
let's digress. The reason that we never actually get to a problem solving situation when it comes to relationship fights and conflicts is because many people have not learned how to address a person's feelings and emotions first.
Hmm.
And once somebody sees that you care about them, then they are more apt to want to be a part of the solution,
Right.
not stay a part of the problem. So, my wife and I, when we have any type of disagreement, she has a listening ear out for me. I
Hmm.
have a listening ear out for her. And if there's any misunderstanding, I want to hear how she feels first.
Hmm.
And then I'll deal with the issue of what we consider to be the problem next. But if we try and skip over a person's feelings and emotions in
Hmm.
order to get to a problem, it's going to be a major roadblock. And not only that, it's possible to come up with a solution, but because the other person's feelings have not been addressed, you can have a solution that may not even work because you have not brought about a partnership
Yeah.
where both people are dealing with the same problem and on the same page,
Hmm.
rather than just skipping over, well, your feelings are not important. It doesn't matter how you feel. It does matter,
Yeah.
because if the feelings and the emotions are not dealt with, there is no way that you're going to properly come
Hmm.
up with the right solution, like that gorilla that Levi's talking about. So wisdom is a great key.
Yeah.
Wisdom is a great key. And the reason wisdom is a great key is because what wisdom does, it knows how to apply the knowledge of emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
That's why wisdom is so important. Wisdom is applying what you already know. So it's possible to know something, but you don't have the wisdom to apply it. That's why scripture says, if you lack wisdom, ask God for it.
Yeah.
He gives it to us
True.
liberally
Hmm.
and won't chastise us as a result of just asking for it.
Hmm.
So it's the wisdom that we need in every relationship. And I don't pray for my spouse to have the wisdom. I
Mm.
pray for me to have the wisdom.
Yeah. Totally.
I can apply emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
being able to control my emotions and then helping others to control theirs so that we can get to a solution and fight fair. Here's another thing I want to throw in real fast, Steph, and it's this. I want to be an advocate.
Hmm.
You know, I don't want to be an adversary.
Break that down. Tell us what that means.
An advocate
Hmm.
promotes their partner,
Okay.
even in a conflict. I'm still fighting for, advocating like a lawyer would for my spouse, for my partner.
Mhm.
I want to be her advocate,
Mhm.
not her adversary.
Right.
Adversary is an enemy. An adversary is somebody that's fighting against you.
Yeah.
And an adversary is somebody that you are in constant conflict with.
Yeah. And I'm
But
pretty
but when
mhm.
it comes to the in a person that is an advocate, now I'm fighting for, not against.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's so many couples, marriages who they feel like they're in competing.
Yeah, yeah,
Competing, wanting to be right, wanting to be heard, wanting to be understood. But when you have one common fight, which is us, like you said earlier, I
yeah.
think that changes the game a little bit.
It does. And what it does, if you're really seeking a solution,
Mhm.
you want the person that you're in conflict with to be a part of that solution.
Mhm.
And what we're talking about is actually revolutionary when it comes to, when it comes to relationship conflicts. One of the things that we talked about in professional boxing, I like professional boxing. The only way you can lose a fight is that you get knocked down, knocked out, or you forfeit the fight by leaving the ring.
Mhm.
We have to understand that we must never stop talking.
Mm.
Never stop talking when it comes to a relationship. To stop talking is
Mhm.
just like leaving the ring.
Yeah. That actually brings us to another rule. No shutting down, no stonewalling. It is
Yeah.
below the belt, and it's unfair to
Yeah.
the person because it leaves your partner, your spouse, it leaves them hanging. So when they're looking for some type of resolve or they're willing to jump in the ring and fight for the relationship, and you just make a decision to, I'm just going to pull back, I'm just going to completely shut down. Where does that leave, your spouse?
Yeah. Well, somebody we were talking about Adam and Eve in the garden,
Hmm.
and somebody asked the question, where was Adam? Uh, Adam was right there listening to the conversation
Hmm.
with his wife. Here's
Hmm.
the problem. Here's the
The
problem.
conversation between him and
The serpent.
Satan.
No,
Okay,
the conversation between Eve and the serpent.
got it.
Adam was there. Adam was there. Here's the problem. Before Eve came along, God said to Adam, start naming the animals.
Hmm.
Adam had to speak and give the animals names. He's talking uh, to the animals about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving the animals, he's naming the animals.
Mm-hmm.
He's using his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what caused Adam to trip up in his relationship. When Adam stopped talking and just allowed the serpent to do most of the conversation between
Mm-hmm.
him and Eve, now you got a problem. My point is, when men stop talking,
Mm.
the enemy will continue talking and take their place
Wow.
and mess up their relationship. This is the problem with the silent treatment.
Mm-hmm.
When folk just shut down, they stop talking
Mm-hmm.
because of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
As long Adam should have stepped in and said, you know what, Eve, this is not a conversation. Let me step in here and let me deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Look here, serpent. This is our garden. It was given
Yeah.
to us by God. You got to get up out of here. You got to go.
Mm-hmm.
As Bishop Jakes would say, I don't know where you're going, but you're leaving here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so what happens is when we cut off conversation and couples stop talking to each other, guess who continues to talk?
That is so good.
And the one that continues to talk now
Wow.
is the one that will hinder any resolution, any
Mm-hmm.
solution to the issue
Mm-hmm.
because people don't understand that the way you resolve conflict,
Yeah.
the way you fight fair, is that you continue
Mm-hmm.
to speak and talk. Even if you say, you know what, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Let's not talk right now. Let's talk in another
Mhm,
couple of hours. I'm
mhm,
going to take time to harness my emotions, get my emotions under control, and then we can come back and deal with this.
mhm.
But never stop talking, because the enemy will start talking for the both of you.
That is such key advice. So basically, you're saying no shutting down, no stonewalling. But if you're not able to talk in that moment, schedule something for a later time that
Yeah,
day to continue to talk.
absolutely, absolutely. Because look, um, my relationship ought to empower me, and every relationship is empowered by words.
Hmm.
Every relationship. If you go to, I believe it's Ephesians, the 5th chapter, there's a powerful principle there. And the principle there is this, that God compares uh, Jesus and the church to marriage. He calls
Okay.
marriage a great mystery.
Hmm.
And the principle is, how does Jesus sanctify and cleanse his church? And it says, by the washing of the water of the word.
Hmm.
It's the word
Mm.
that brings about the resolve or the solution.
Yeah.
What I say, what I continue to say, because I'm going to speak to my spouse in a way of what I want her to be,
Hmm.
not what she's not.
Mm. Yeah.
If I keep telling the person, no, you're not helpful,
Hmm.
you're not mature,
Hmm.
you're not you're not contributing anything, you're not, well, when you deal with what they are not, you get nothing from them.
Yeah. You get exactly what you just called them.
Yeah, you basically, so the washing of the water of the word is a principle that Jesus used for his bride. How does he keep his bride clean, who is the church?
Hmm.
He speaks words that will cause them to stay sanctified to him
Hmm.
and cleansed,
Hmm.
because words can either sullow or soil you. I'll put it that way. They
Hmm.
can soil you rather than cleanse you if you use the wrong words.
So what happens with all the spouses out there who maybe they're not, I don't know, throw in a good word, hardworking or whatever that is? Would you call them what you want them to be anyway, although they're not displaying those behaviors?
Oh yeah, because reason is because God calls us sinless,
Yeah.
blameless, holy,
Hmm.
without fault. And if we look inwardly, we'll discover that, in our behavior, that's not who we are. But it's not about so much my behavior first, it's about my belief.
Yeah.
You brought up the idea of belief
Hmm.
and value. Well, if I believe that, my behavior will become better.
Totally. It'll
But the
reflect that.
problem, the problem with a lot of believers is that they put more effort into trying to modify their
Hmm.
behavior
Yes.
rather than do what Jesus said, only believe.
I tried that personally. It does not work. It does not work. Your whole perception, like you said, belief system has to change. Your behaviors, it will change temporarily, a
I
couple
see,
of
I
hours.
see, I see a question on the screen. You see that question? What if a couple is not
Mhm,
on the level of what you're talking about? Here's what we have to understand.
mhm,
The level of the other person doesn't matter. Emotional control
mhm.
starts with me. If I control my emotions, I am capable of helping the other person to obtain that level. Here's what the scripture says. The sanctified wife sanctifies the unsanctified husband.
Mm.
A sanctified husband can sanctify an unsanctified wife. What does that mean? That my response to them is not based on how they're behaving. It's based on my belief and my behavior. So here's what that means. If I believe about me the right way, and then my believing brings about proper behavior,
Hmm.
I am a walking epistle.
Yeah.
I'm setting a standard. I'm being a model. Now, because I don't have any control over the other person's level of spirituality or whatever the case may be, I put them in God's hands.
Hmm.
The only person that I've got control over is me.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'm going to control my emotions. I'm
Hmm.
going to I'm going to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. Uh,
I'm I'm going to be I'm going to be in a place where I take responsibility for me. Now, I want to keep that question up there, Alicia, please. You can't make someone else stay married if they don't want to. Exactly.
you
What is
can.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hmm.
Coach Kim, I agree with that because it's God Himself don't make us do anything.
Yeah.
If God gives us volition, if He gives us free will,
Hmm.
then I know that I don't have the ability to override the will of another human being.
Hmm.
But what power do I have? I've got power over my thoughts,
Yep.
my feelings, my emotions. I've got power over me. I've got power over my body. So if
Yeah.
a person decides they want to walk away, scripture says let them go.
Yeah.
That's their decision.
Hmm.
But if somebody walks away and then another person starts allowing themselves to decline as a result of that person leaving, then you have a very dangerous soul tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Somebody walk away, you better take better care of yourself.
Yeah. Exactly.
You ought to improve yourself. Don't let them take you with them. You let them go. But too many other people let themselves go.
Yeah.
I've heard watching a funny a comedy, and this lady looked at and said, "You don't let yourself go." A lot of people do that.
Hmm.
I'm not letting myself go. I'm going to keep taking care of it. I may not feel like it, may not look
Yeah.
like it, but I'm not going to walk around all day looking like an unmade bed.
But that's why it's such a personal journey. You have to, marriage is marriage, but you're an individual. And, you have to be able to go on this journey alone with your own emotional intelligence. We have the power, the influence, the ability to model the behavior. It is very possible that you could be in a stressful situation and still have peace.
Well, I'll tell you what. I got a question that I see here, and I appreciate Dr. Serrano's comment. Do what is right, even when the other person is doing wrong.
There you go.
Because at the end of the day, you only have
Yep,
to answer for you.
exactly.
Here's a question that I want to also address by Lisa. What do you do when a spouse tells the other spouse she gives him power to go out and have sex with whomever they've only been married for 3 years? Well, unfortunately, that's somebody that wants what is called an open marriage. Of course, believers, we don't believe in such a thing. We don't practice open marriage. We practice faithfulness is what we practice, and that's certainly not a Christian marriage. Probably one of the things that we have to be very careful of. What is most important is this,
Mhm.
man. Marriage, who you marry, is important. That's why certain things have to be discovered in the dating process. But then, even after you are married, marriage has this ability to uncover. The word marriage carries the kind of it connotes being uncovered. When you marry a person, you'll start seeing things that you never knew even when you were dating them.
Yeah.
But something like believing that you can go out and sleep with somebody else even though you're married, oh, that's something that should have been covered during the process of dating. That's why we're back to what you stated, Stephanie.
Mhm.
That's why we deal with in dating beliefs and values.
Yeah.
Beliefs and values.
Yep.
What are your beliefs and what are your values?
And boundaries.
And of course, yeah, boundaries. Well,
Mhm.
and the boundary part, that's good. That goes with definition along with the boundary lines. But on a personal note, what I believe, I want to make sure that my spouse is on the same page, and before she becomes my spouse, we're
Mhm.
gonna we're gonna hash that out. What do you believe? What are your values? What do you value?
Yeah.
What's your love language? All of these things have got to come out, and that's way before you say I do.
Exactly. And once those
And,
boundaries are being crossed, there's going to be some consequences
oh,
implemented.
let me tell you. You see, fights break out
Mhm.
among couples, and once again, it doesn't matter what you call it. When there is a disagreement, when
Yeah.
there's a disagreement between couples, and both of those couples understand what it means to be emotionally intelligent,
Mhm.
you have a relationship that's going to grow. When there's emotional ignorance on an
Mhm.
individual level,
Yeah.
if I am emotionally ignorant and I have not put things in place to help me
Mhm.
to control my emotions, there's always going to be conflict.
Yeah.
So there's a demand, marriage helped me to grow up.
Yeah. Me too. 100%.
It helps you to grow up because now you're dealing with it. There's certain things that I have to put into consideration because now I've got somebody that I'm bonded to, I'm connected to.
Mhm.
So you don't have to be completely mature when you marry, but
Right.
as you continue to stay married, there's a maturity
Yeah.
that has to be experienced the longer you are married.
Yeah. In order for it to be a successful marriage.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I know some old fools.
I know some too.
Yeah, I know. You know, I turned 66 this year,
Mhm.
and one of the things that I've always told myself when I was in my 30s, I said, you know what, God, whatever happens,
Yeah.
please don't let me be an old fool.
Yeah.
There's no. I've heard it said there's no fool like an old fool. What is
Mhm.
an old fool? An old fool is somebody that mature in age,
Yeah.
but they are not mature in emotions.
Mhm.
They don't know how to handle their own emotions.
Yeah. They're not willing to learn.
And some people are not willing to learn.
Mhm.
So you can't make anybody do anything.
Mm-mm.
You cannot love a person so much
Mm-mm.
that they're going to change based on your love alone.
Yeah.
They've got to love themselves
There you go.
and then they can love each other.
Yep.
But, the message is, and I'll take maybe a couple more questions and then we're going to go ahead and close this out because
That
I may have,
time went by so fast.
yeah, 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 I mean, yeah, we were going at it pretty good there. So, summarize.
Uh-huh.
The bottom line is this: when it comes to solving emotional conflicts where emotions are high, somebody's feelings are hurt, somebody feels like they've been disrespected. Uh, the way you deal with that is you deal with the feelings of the person
Mhm.
before you deal with the problem.
Yeah.
Never overlook the person's feelings and go straight to the problem
Mhm.
because you know what happens? Nothing gets resolved.
Mhm.
Why? Because even if you come up with a so called solution to the problem, the person with hurt feelings will become another problem again
Mhm.
because the 8 pounds of emotion
Mhm.
will always
Yep.
override the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
That's good. I love that analogy.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. People, they want to, we need to get this problem solved. No, what I need to find out is this: how is my partner doing?
Mhm.
What did I do to bring about this kind of emotional upheaval whereby my partner cannot contribute
Mhm.
to a solution that is obvious? And nobody can come up with really effective solutions that's still dealing with hurt feelings. It
Yeah.
won't happen.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
Yeah.
I got to deal with my spouse's, you know, what did I do? What happened? And let her tell me everything that she feels like I did, and without defending myself,
Mhm.
continuing to listen
Mhm.
so that I can make sure that she knows, number one, I care about you.
Yeah.
And number two, you are more important to me than the problem.
Mhm.
Once a
That's good.
person understands that you care and they are important to you,
All those barriers just break down.
everything
Mhm.
breaks down.
Yeah.
Now you can actually get rid of the 800. Look, if I'm lifting 800 pounds by myself, I got a problem.
Yeah.
If I got somebody to help me lift 800 pounds,
Mhm.
but the hindrance to lifting 800 pounds
Mhm.
is the 8 ounces of negative emotions.
Yeah.
Got to get rid of those. Got to get rid of those. All right. You know what?
That's good stuff.
I don't see any problems. I see some great comments, and thank you, Doctor Serrano, for just tuning in. And I'm glad you were here too. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Alicia. Emotional ignorance hurts. Yes, it does. But a sign of a mature person, I'll never forget it. I better
Mhm.
close with this because I got things coming to my mind.
Uh-huh.
I was in the mall, uh, Aventura, in Miami. I was in the mall walking around.
Mhm.
I was there to pick up something in one of the stores. So I saw this father. He had his child in one of these mall strollers.
Mhm.
The stroller looks like a car,
Mhm.
and the child is able to steer, but it's actually the parent that's pushing the thing, right?
Mhm.
I'm walking out of the store, so I'm watching this little boy in this stroller that looks like a car. He's spinning the wheel this way. His father actually turns the other way. And this kid tripped. Oh boy, he threw a temper tantrum. And I got a great laugh out of it. And the Lord said, I mean, it's interesting how God speaks. He said, that's you right there.
Wow.
He said, that's you. He said, I'm moving your life this way.
Wow.
And you are emotionally upset because you want to go that way.
Wow.
So, I mean, there was no way that my mind would have even came up with something like that. And
Yeah.
God used, I mean, I got a great laugh out of it. It was so funny to me that this child knows how to steer this
Mhm.
car. But the truth is, it was the father that
Mm.
was really in control.
Wow.
When we learn how
So
to
good.
control our faith
Yeah.
over our feelings,
Mhm.
your feelings will rise above
Mhm.
faith in too many issues.
Yeah.
What we want to accomplish is our faith
Mhm.
rising above our feelings.
Yeah, and I hear another point, giving the father control. You doing your part, but giving your father controls because he has control at the end of the day over your relationship.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, So that's really where emotional intelligence lies in
Mm-hmm.
my faith. And most Christians live in feelings, and faith is down here.
That's so good.
And we want to live in faith and leave feelings down here.
That's so good.
That's how you fight fair.
Yeah.
Maybe we should come back with, well, you know what? We'll keep it open. But I like,
Someone did say that they wanted to hear about emotional abuse.
well, emotional abuse usually comes from a person that has been emotionally abused.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the key, that is called dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why what we do, we recommend, we recommend something that our culture uh, has been seemingly has added a stigma to it, and that is coaching and counseling. You know, we need to we need to really understand that there are relationships that need help, that the two people in it may be at some type of emotional disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So coaching helps. That's why we offer difference factor solution coaching programs, so that we can coach people how to use their differences to
Mm-hmm.
deepen their marriage and their relationship. And it's a beautiful thing when you know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I can help if people are willing to just take time to invest in their relationship and say, you know what, I want to be empowered in this relationship, not embarrassed. And the way you get empowered is that you have somebody to coach you, not necessarily counsel, but I had a coaching session with clients today, and they're on their way to a powerful, productive, satisfying relationship.
Yeah.
So it's just about, you can invest in your relationship to keep it, or you can pay a lawyer tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands,
Just to lose it.
to lose it all. Yeah. So, hey, that's where we are. And Steffi, you have been a great co host tonight. Thank
Well,
you
thank you so
for,
much. You poured out so much wisdom. I need to watch this over again just so I can,
well, I appreciate that. And the wisdom in some cases come from just listening and watching. Other times it comes from things that I have experienced along the way. Nevertheless, God uses all of these things to work out for our good. And I want to thank all of those that came on to be with us tonight. Thank you so much. Specifically, our coach, Coach Kim
yeah.
Jacobs.
Coach Kim.
That lady right there is one of the finest media coaches that I have ever dealt with. She's good as gold, folks. So if you're interested in media coaching, you want to see, contact Coach Kim Jacobs. She's on Facebook. You can get all of her information from there. And thank you all again for joining me and I have to say this, my lovely daughter,
Thank you.
Stephanie Tomlinson. We're going to be back again next week. And by the way, we appreciate your support. Just right there at the bottom of the screen. Hey, take time to keep this thing moving by making things happen for others, by helping us to get this word out. So we just give you an opportunity to support us and to give. There's the Cash App right there. And there are other avenues of giving that will get out there. But right now, give what you can. We surely appreciate it. Doesn't matter about the amount. We just want you to be blessed. And one of the greatest ways of being blessed is to be a giver, because every giver becomes a great receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it in advance, thanking you in advance for your giving. Well, Steph, have a good night. Those of you that are with us, have a great night. We will see you next time, right back here, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Relationship Revolution Television. It's popping. See you guys later.
Good night.